of applause go for your next act, Ting Lim.
Mike is so tall. Fuck. Wait. I'll tell you a bit about myself, right? So I'm from Singapore, and whenever I mention that, I know that broomstick with a rat's tail just shut out my country earlier. But like, I'm not fucking privileged. I'm here. But whenever I tell people I'm from Singapore, I get this a lot. Like, people would go like, man, I love Singapore, especially the airport, right? Like, you haven't even entered my country yet. Like, that makes no sense. That's like me saying, my favorite part of Australia, Bali. Right? Like, that's just fucking mental. Like, the airport is the first impression you get of the country. It's not the actual country. It's kind of like, when you go on a first date, like women, we use makeup as war paint to camouflage our blemishes and personality, right? Like, we use it as bait to trap a partner, and then when we catch them after a while, we rip it off and we go like, how do you like my psychological damage now, huh? Like, take out the bins, you dirtbag. Like, that's what... It's weird, like. But, with comedy, I find it really weird. Like, I traveled around a lot. I just came back from Melbourne. And Melbourne, usually, they have buskers. There's a lot of people, on the street performing. And I walked past a musician. He was playing, and they usually have a sign with their Instagram handle. This guy, he had a slogan, and it said, it's really weird. It said, listen to rock, don't molest. Like, that's weird. Yeah. I think don't molest is enough, right? I don't think... There is no need for alternatives, you know what I mean? Like, never have I gone as a woman. You know what would make me feel safe walking down this dark alleyway by myself? Nickelback. Okay? Like, just... That's so fucking stupid. They are two separate statements. They are. Look at street signs. They're succinct. They make sense. Like, slow down is enough. You never see slow down. Do your parents love you? Right? You don't see that. You don't need that kind of bullshit, right? So... It's like, when I first came here, though, like, culturally, it took me a while to adjust. The biggest thing for me was I picked up hugging here later in life when I immigrated here at 35. And, because when I was growing up, my parents never hugged me. It's a cultural thing. Like, physical affection is not a thing in traditional Chinese culture, right? Like, it is so ingrained in the culture, we have the lazy Susan, To prevent risk of touching anyone at the dinner table... We put this big fuck off circle in the middle, right? And then go like, no one is touching anyone except Susan, all right? Like, Susan is doing all the work, and what do we call her? Lazy, It's crazy. Like, food is the way, my parents would show love. And, the thing is, look at Asian restaurants. They are the only restaurants that you go for the food and not the customer service, all right? Like... When you go in, they just go like, why the fuck are you here trying to support my business? Like, just... There's only one question, if you want a job there, it's like, do you give zero fucks? That's it, like... Because if you go in there and you go like, man, I have a peanut allergy, they'll be like, oh, you got a peanut allergy, cool. We'll put in more, all right? Like, make the race stronger. Like, look at the journey you have to go through to use the toilet. If you tell them you want to use the toilet, they'll be like, you want to use the toilet? Okay, walk past the kitchen, into the storeroom, right? Go into the next building. Remember this 12-digit door code. By the way, here is a key attached to a walk, right? Attached to a chef. Fucking good luck. And when you want to leave, 50% surcharge. Why? Because I got money, that's why. Fuck you, And the way my mom would show her love is whenever I go back, we'll make a meal and then we'll sit down. And then what my mom would do is a traditional Chinese meal, there would be a pot of rice, plates with vegetables and meat. My mom would take a rice bowl and she'll serve it up with rice, vegetables, meat. And she'll give it to me very lovingly, right? And pass on some wisdom this is why you're so fat. That's how my mom shows her love for me, It's so commonplace in my culture, like, to my mom, like words like fat and stupid are descriptive words, like blue or pervert, right? Like descriptive words. And I actually told my mom, I was like, when you come to Australia, don't use those words. They mean something different here, right? And what she heard was, oh, don't use those words. Come up with new ways to say the same thing. Because when she came here for my graduation, like, from uni, like, I put on like 30 kilos. Like, instead of calling me fat, to my mom's credit, she just looked at me and she was like, Ayo Ting, you look highly visible. Like, just, what the fuck? Like, right. So, like, I'll tell you what happened. I'll finish up on this. So, a while ago, I got a dog, and, like, this is my first dog. It might not sound like a lot, but for me, it was a big thing because growing up, I always wanted a dog. I could never get one because my mom was allergic to unconditional love, right? So, I could never get one. And this is the thing. I thought people who had dogs just fucking love dogs, right? I was in a dog park with Dixie. A lady came up, and the first thing she said to me, she was like, oh, your dog is a bit leggy. And I'm like, what is wrong with legs on a dog? Like a dog should have legs, right? Like a dog without legs is a sushi roll. Like, what the fuck are you on about? Second question, she was like, is your dog a rescue? And I was like, can we put some boundaries around this conversation, right? Firstly, you insult the legs of my dog, right? Secondly, you insinuate it looks recycled. Like, who are you? I just met you, you weird lady, right? I said to her, no, I didn't think it would be a thing. And then, you know what she did? She was like, so many dogs are abandoned every year. You should have rescued the dog. Said that to me, left the conversation, mic drop moment. And I was like, what the fuck are you? Like, some kind of protester working overtime, like... I was like, it's my first dog. I waited 37 years to get the dog. I waited where I was in a position where I could buy the dog that I want. Like, if you have all the money in the world, would you buy your dream home, or would you go to a caravan park and then go, give me the one without wheels and the meth head, right? I'm here to save a caravan. You're not. It's such a stupid argument as well because it is a domesticated dog. Like, we rescued them from the wild. They need us to survive, right? Imagine your dog in the Serengeti. It won't fucking survive, okay? At some point in history, we as the human species, we looked at the wolf and we go, you're obviously not good enough, right? Let me turn you into a pug. That was what we did. A pug can't survive in the Serengeti, okay? It can't take down the gazelle when it needs a CPAP machine, all right? Like. Anyway, guys, I gotta go. Thank you. I've been taking it. Bye-bye.